I'd rather have a hole than an asshole. A mentor once told me this when we were talking about hiring for a team. And at first, I thought it was a little bit harsh. But after making all of the same classic mistakes myself, even I now find myself saying the exact same thing to other business owners. If you manage a team, you know how incredible it feels when you hire an A player. But while we do love patting ourselves on the back when we make a great hire, we also do need to take the responsibility for when things don't quite go to plan. Today, we're going to dive into the 5 worst hiring mistakes that you might be making right now, and more importantly, how to fix them. Plus, stick around because I'm going to share a bonus principle that has genuinely saved me so much time and so much frustration over the years. So let's dive in. Mistake number 5 is hiring too quickly to fill the role. This one hits home for so many business owners, and look, I get it. You've got a gaping hole in your team and things are really starting to pile up. So you're just desperate to get a body in the seat ASAP. So what you do is you just rush the hiring process just to get that bum in a seat, and so you can hope that the business continues to grow and work effectively. But here's the thing, when you hire in a hurry, it usually ends in a disaster. It can easily end up with somebody who's a terrible fit, whether they don't have the skills or actually if they just don't align to your values. And boom! You're literally back to square one, looking for somebody new, but also whilst dealing with the mess that has been left behind. So the solution to this is simple. It's just to slow it down and to take our time. Consider adding in an extra interview stage, maybe perhaps a real-world task or challenge for them, or even just consider using a freelancer whilst you wait to find the perfect person for the team. Trust me, spending a couple of extra weeks now is way better than spending months dealing with the fallout of a bad hire. In one of our previous experiences, I rushed to fill a key sales role, somebody that we really needed yesterday. But guess what? The person I hired just couldn't hit targets, didn't really get the concepts of what we were doing, and we just ended up parting ways in just a few months. For us at the time, it really was a disaster, and the time and money that we wasted were far more than if I just waited to find the right person in the first place. Next up, mistake number 4 is failing to see behind the mask. Now here's the deal. When somebody's interviewing for a job, they've likely polished their answers to perfection. They've probably practiced the responses to the obvious questions multiple times, crafted a narrative about their previous work, why they left, what they're great at, and yeah, look, they're showing you the absolute best version of themselves. And that's fine, but it's not always the real them. And as the person hiring, it's literally your job to make sure that you can see behind the mask and see who they truly are. Sure, they might actually still be the great person that they're presenting, but it's really important and our responsibility to make sure of that before they start. So the way we can do this is actually just to ask the tougher questions multiple times. It sounds simple, but actually ask them why else did they leave their previous job? Perhaps in different ways and at different points within the interview process. I always like to try and conduct one or more of the interviews in a more casual setting, so if possible over a coffee, for example, where they can relax a bit, let their guard down, and then you really get to start to see the real them. And always call their references. And when you're speaking to the references, ask specific questions about their character and not just their job performance. How did they respond when something went well, when badly? How did they work with the team? A colleague of mine actually hired someone who was a superstar in the interview process. They were so good, we actually skipped some of those stages, but it became really obvious really quickly that they just were not a right cultural fit. In fact, the things that made them great about hiring through our recruitment process is absolutely what didn't work for us from a cultural fit perspective. It wasn't long before we were back on that hiring process for the exact same role, and actually it's a huge waste of time, energy, and also other good candidates that you didn't choose. And now for mistake number 3, this is misaligning expectations. So you've now hired someone, and that's great, but now the hard part really begins. And this is essentially making sure that they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Because here's the thing, if your new hire is a bit confused or if there's even a little bit of ambiguity about what's expected of them, they're genuinely set up for failure before they've even started. And I've seen it happen far too many times. A new hire comes in all excited, ready to crush it, but Because they don't have the clear goals or the clear milestones, they're sort of just wandering around in the dark, trying to do a good job. But guess what? They tend not to stick around, particularly the good people. They don't tend to stick around long when they feel lost internally. So how we fix this is quite simple. We literally align those expectations from day one, or better yet, before day one. Make sure that you're clearly defining the role and the responsibility. Make it really obvious what success looks like and put in those milestones of success for the first 30, 60 and 90 days. And here's the absolute pro tip. Get those new hires to agree on these expectations. It might sound simple, but actually it makes a world of difference. Asking them to agree and perhaps suggest other expectations, it turns the conversation into a commitment, and now everybody is truly on the same page. We're now at mistake number 2, which is failing to communicate your company culture. Now, the culture is the heartbeat of our company. It's what makes your team tick even when you're not there. And if you're not communicating your culture to your new hires, then you're opening the door to a whole load of pain. Why is that? Because actually when somebody doesn't align with your culture, it doesn't really matter how skilled they are. Eventually that misalignment will lead to friction within the team, impact the productivity, the team morale, and ultimately your bottom line will suffer. So how do we fix it? We communicate your company culture early and often, throughout the hiring process, the onboarding process, and even beyond. Use tools like Waybook to codify your company's values, mission, and vision, and show your new hires examples of how the team embody these values in their day-to-day work. Get them excited about your company culture from the start. And here's a stat for you. Gartner found that companies with a strong culture see 30% higher levels of innovation. So yeah, getting it right is quite crucial to keeping your team happy, productive, and also creative. And here we are at the number one mistake that people make in their hiring process, and that is their failure to document your processes and procedures. If you're hiring without having all of your processes documented, then you are literally asking for chaos. Your new hire is going to feel a bit lost, and your existing team will be constantly interrupted to answer their questions, and when somebody leaves, all of their knowledge goes with them. So how we fix this is simple. We just document everything. And this is where Waybook can literally save you tons of headaches. With tools like Waybook, you can easily create a centralized business playbook that houses all of your processes, procedures, SOPs, and onboarding workflows. So every new hire gets access to the exact same information, meaning that they can hit the ground running without endless hand-holding. And it doesn't just help with onboarding. Documenting processes ensures that their knowledge transfer is smooth. So when somebody leaves or moves on to a different role, there's no more scrambling to figure out how something is done or what we can do in that person's absence. I've seen businesses lose weeks, sometimes even months of productivity because they didn't have their processes documented. New hires were left to figure things out on their own, or worse, their colleagues had to spend hours explaining how things work. With a centralized knowledge base like Waybook, you can eliminate that chaos and create clarity from day one. All right, so here is the bonus principle that I promised you, and this is the force of 100. Essentially, as a manager, you need to be either 100% behind an employee, or you are in fact 100% against them. Here's what I mean. The second that you lose even a little bit of trust in somebody, you subconsciously start to pull back your support from that person. And that's where problems really start to begin. You're no longer giving them everything that they need to succeed. And without that, they are just bound to fail. But when you hire someone, you have to go all in, be 100% behind them. Give them the tools, give them the guidance and the support that they need to thrive. And trust me, people want to do a good job. And your role is about giving them every possible chance in order to do so. So there you have it, the 5 worst hiring mistakes, and more importantly, how to fix them. By addressing these issues, you can turn your hiring process into a strategic advantage. Imagine onboarding your employees in a fraction of the time with consistent results and without the constant stress. But here's the thing, knowing what to do is only half the battle. You still actually have to implement these changes. And that's where Waybook comes in. With Waybook, you can create your own business playbook, streamline your onboarding processes, and ensure a smooth knowledge transfer all in one place. You can sign up today for a 7-day free trial and see firsthand how it can transform your operations and of course optimize your hiring process. Click the link below and start your free trial today, and don't let poor hiring processes hold your business back any longer. Let's get your team running like a well-oiled machine, and until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.